Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this edition of The Inside. I am Bablet Jonathan. 2016 to 2024, close to 8 years since the Anglophone crisis started in the predominantly English-speaking regions, the Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. 8 years of efforts by the Cameroon government and other stakeholders to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken regions, yet the situation remains unstable. The situation remains volatile, and today some are suggesting that if an Anglophone president were to emerge in 2025, that could be a game changer. We are looking at these in this edition of The Insight. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is NKENG Michael, former mayor of Muyuka in the southwest region of the country. He's also an entrepreneur. Thank you for joining us in this edition of The Insight.
It's my pleasure coming to your studio to answer the burning questions of the day.
Government has been striving together with other stakeholders to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country for close to 8 years now. But the situation remains volatile as we speak. What is your take on this?
Thank you, Mr. Babla, for that question of volatility. And now, when the situation is as what we have now on the ground, the solution lies with both parties coming on the table and get into the root cause of what led us to this situation. And after agreeing on the root causes, then can we now agree on a solution that will take us out of the crisis? And I beg you, Mr. Babla, if that is done with good faith, you will see that we'll come out with a solution that will not only benefit the Northwest and the Southwest, but will benefit the whole country. Trust me, Mr. Babla, it is not even a change of leadership, because any leader who you change and you put to have the type of overhyped, centralized system will not change the situation. Give anybody power on earth, and you will know the true colors of that person. So the situation is not the dispute which is actually going on, which arises because of what the English-speaking Cameroon were going through, but it's a system of governance which does not meet up with time. You cannot still have today a hyper-centralized system where even a mayor to maintain a highway must go back to Yaoundé. It is not going to work, Mr. Babla. You will still have the same situation even if you change leaders. So while they will sit on the table to examine the root cause and to look for common solutions, one of the major obstacles should be to decentralize the state. What we have now, I doubt a lot, because if it was effective, we couldn't still be where we are today, where you talk about strenuous situation, insecurity everywhere. The military is overstretched. The secessionists are overstretched. The middleman is overstretched, who is really having the burden of all what is going on. And I think the earlier a solution is looked upon, that will benefit the common man to go back and resettle, I think it will be better. People are suffering, Mr. Babla. People are tired. And so a solution, a fair solution is needed to come out of the dilemma.
Right. For 8 years, killing, abduction, kidnapping, destruction of properties have continued, and other criminal activities. Recently, a pupil of government primary school, Kumba, Town Group 2, went missing for about 3 weeks, and later on her body was found. Her corpse was found, and some parts of her body cut off. what's your understanding of the fact that military action on the ground and all the measures taken by the Cameroon government so far have not succeeded to end such atrocities?
Oh, Mr. Babla, there's this saying that when two elephants fight, the grasses suffer. The government and the separatists are the two elephants. The population is the grass. Now, when you talk about the prevailing insecurity situation going on, there should be no doubt about that. Why? Because, as I told you, our military is overstretched. You cannot have one military behind every Cameroonian. And so bandits, evil men always take advantage of a situation like this to do what they want to do. And so they do that because during the period where there is security, they will be arrested. Now, even the population are even afraid sometimes to call the security men to report a situation which is not the best, but they are scared because they believe that when they report the situation, the separatists will come back and get them punished for reporting. So you see, it's a situation which is a little bit confusing. And that is why I keep saying, Mr. Babla, that I do pray that both parties should sit on the table, verify, look upon the root causes, and get a perfect solution, which I believe is not perfect, to overcome this prevailing insecurity going out in the country. And as I said, if a better solution comes out from that dialogue, that solution might be applied to the rest of the country for everybody to participate in governance. Because the essence of governance is to uplift the condition of its citizens. If a few people sit on top and eat all the food, that crumbs to the population, there will be a time when they will rise up like one person and say, enough is enough. That situation only arrives when the population's back is pushed on the wall. They have nowhere to go. They have no hope, and they will be forced to bounce back and confront our loyalist military, our good military, for a situation which was not as a result of their making. So, to our leaders, they should know that the so-called separatists are Cameroonian. I don't even know how that name came about, but they are Cameroonian who they need to sit on the table and ask, as a father talking to the child, what is your problem? He comes out with a problem. What solution do you think? He gives a solution, you propose a solution, you put everything in the middle and come out with a common agreement. And I bet you, once that agreement is attained, the population will be the ones to go and tell the separatists, enough is enough. We don't need you people again. We have achieved what we wanted. Thank you. Come and join us. Let us build the nation.
You said the pro-independence fighters are Cameroonians, but they have been saying that they are no longer Cameroonians, that they are rather Ambazonians.
Again, is the frustration of a hungry child. When a child is hungry, if you don't give that child food, whatever he sees around him, he will grab it to eat. Government was elected by the people, but the government should solve the problem of the people. They don't have to wait until civilians pick up guns, enter the bush, and then you start running to look for solution. No, those are not the type of environment that can prevail for any economic improvement. Now, we need peace back in Cameroon, because with peace, every other thing comes along.
Is it really an issue of hunger? Because today it looks more like an ideological issue, with some who have believed in the secession message and have believed in the Ambazonian nation dream.
What were the reasons of the ideology? I'll still repeat, and I will repeat, and I say, there is a cause of that mentality that we want to separate. Separation is not a solution itself. You find South Sudan, Is it okay there? You find Eritrea. Is it okay there? No. The solution lies in dialogue. Dialogue. Both parties should sit on the table. The government, the separatists, the common initiative group, they should all sit on the table and examine the root causes and look for solutions to those root causes. No matter the ideology one has, if you can show him a path to redemption, if you can show him a path to peace, if you can show him a path to economic inheritance, change his lifestyle, they will take that path in order to achieve their goals in life. This idea of separatists, I still repeat, was a word that did not exist until September 2016. How were Cameroonians living? Again, I said, if you push a man to the wall and he has nowhere to go, he has no hope for the future, he will be forced to react.
Now, about calls on the population to denounce secessionist activities. In the southwest region, for example, the governor, Benau Kaliebilai, has been preaching a strategy which he calls terrorize the terrorists, asking the population to denounce terrorist activities, to denounce the terrorists. But, you know, as you rightly said, that doing that is synonymous to a suicide mission for some people in some areas, so to speak. Denouncing the terrorists or the secessionists or whatever the authorities are calling them is not different from being a black leg, as some of the people have been attacked and killed before now. What's your opinion about this?
Unfortunately, I never followed the speech of the governor. But one thing you have to understand, he is the lead authority of the Southwest, as his friend Lily Afrik to the Northwest. He himself sometimes is frustrated of the situation which is going on. And so, because of his emotions, because of his love for the fatherland, might sometimes say something which was not to his will, but because of frustration. Mr. Babla is frustrating. Anybody knows that the situation is frustrating. And so, whether it is terrorizing, that is not the goal of what is going on. The goal should be peace returning to the Northwest and the Southwest region, so that we enable those hostages, those people, the population who abandoned their homes and went somewhere else. Everybody needs to go back to their natural habitat in order to prevail and live a good life.
Now, this week, 15 young persons from the Indian division were presented as separatist fighters who were said to have dropped their guns and handed themselves to the National Gendarmerie, and they were presented to the senior division officer of the Meme Division, Tutundong Chamberlain. Do you read in this a sign of the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, I did not follow it up. I don't know on what condition they used to be where they were at that time and what were their motives. I don't know. So I cannot say anything. All what I know is, if you have a problem in your hand, look for a whole solution. Don't look for piecemeal solution. Because once you start looking for piecemeal solution, you are only extending the problem. You are not solving the problem.
So, what do you think? What do you think is hindering the parties involved in the conflict from sitting on the same table to discuss the way out of the conflict? What is stopping the government from convening a meeting with Sisiku, Ayuk Tabe, Ekome, Sako, and the others possibly on neutral ground, to discuss the solution to this problem?
People want everything in the pocket, greed. They don't want to abandon certain things for others. And that is what the black man is. And that is where they keep accusing us everywhere in the world, that we don't know how to sit down and dialogue and come out with a common solution. We don't know. It is either me or nothing. That is the black mentality. And that's why we are suffering what we are suffering. Because this country is one of the richest countries on the planet Earth. We just need to manage our resources well, and you will not even see any Cameroonian willing to go out there for greener pastures. No, because we have enough here. We have good food, we have natural resources.
So who is greedy here? Who is greedy?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not part of the government. I'm not part of the separatists. I'm a neutral person, so I don't know who is greedy. But greed is the cause of what is going on now.
Now, if you were in the seat of the President of the Republic, what are some of the urgent decisions, measures, and actions that you will take to solve not only the Anglophone crisis, but the decade-old Anglophone problem?
I'm not in the place to lecture our head of state. He is himself, I think he did political science. So he masters the sciences of what is going on in this country. Remember, he was the president who presided over solutions for the Anglophone crisis in those days. So he knows everything. And so it is within his powers to decide what to, in order to come out with solutions to this crisis. However, as I said, there is no other magic solution than dialogue between all the parties on a round table. We can look for mediators. There are countries who are very open to look for independent mediators to come and mediate between the government and the separatists. There are people of goodwill who can sit on the table and mediate. All what you need, Mr. Babala, is the will.
Now, some Cameroonians think that the fact that for the past 8 years, the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has been going abroad and coming back, but has not gone to any of the areas in the two crisis-stricken regions threatening to secede, is an illustration of lack of concern for Anglophones. Do you think if President Paul Biya goes to Bamenda today, to Boya, to Kumba, or to Balinyonga, or to Nkambe, it's going to have, that visit would have a positive impact on the crisis in terms of resolution, in terms of restoration of peace and normalcy in the two regions?
The head of state has his calendar, and nobody could prejudge to know whether him going to Bamenda or Kumba will be a solution. I don't sit here in a better place to tell you what the outcome will be in visiting those places.
Let's go to the newsstands now, and we are taking a look at what the newspapers reported this week. The press review. The Guardian Post reports that ahead of the 2025 presidentials in Cameroon, the United Nations had largely put President Biya on a hot seat, imposing tough conditions should he want to seek re-election, insisting the introduction of the post of vice president to guarantee a peaceful transition, while the president's francophone collaborators are reported to be blocking such a move, fear it may go to an anglophone. Another issue of the paper headlined warnings of imminent landslides in the west, northwest, southwest and littoral regions after the Chancliffe tragedy. In the domain of urban development, Cameroon Tribune projects improvements on the state of the road network in Marwa Another issue of Cameroon Tribune qualifies First Lady Chantal Biya as a tireless humanitarian. Municipal updates underscores what it describes as the towering legacy of outgoing moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, Right Reverend Funky Samuel Forward. You're welcome back. We are still with our guest, NKENG Michael, former mayor of Muyuka and an entrepreneur. Now, there is a school of thought suggesting that if an Anglophone president could emerge in the 2025 presidential election, a president from the Northwest or Southwest region, it could be a game changer. What are your thoughts about this?
Anything could be a game changer. I will not sit here to speculate for something in 2025. And again, being Anglophone doesn't mean that you are a good governor. Governance is not attributed to either Anglophone or Francophone. It is what comes out from your mind to see how to balance what you send, what you give to your, what you offer to your population. That balance is very critical. It is the act of governing. It is the act of knowing that every Cameroonian is Cameroonian, not only to your tribe people. Because one thing that kills Africa is tribalism. Once you make somebody, you put somebody up there, the first person he thinks is his family and his tribe. Every other person is an enemy. That is a poisonous conception in the minds of the black man.
Now, those you are referring to will tell you that charity begins from home.
What charity are you talking about? What charity are you talking about? You are talking about the resources of a nation to use it in building their village? No. The resources of the nation is for the nation. And that's why checks and balances are necessary. The legislature, the magistracy, and the executive, the three arms that form the government, should be independent from each other, but they should cross-check to ensure that everybody is acting within the amples of the law.
You must have heard some opinion leaders saying, since the former East and West Cameroons came together to form a country under the federal system, the leadership of the country at the summit has been in the hands of Francophones. The first president, Amadou Ahidjo, was a Francophone, and for the past 42 years, we've had another Francophone president, Paul Biya, at the helm of the state. And some opinion leaders think it is time for an Anglophone to take over the helm of the nation. What do you think about this?
I don't know in which context that arrangement was made. That is, after a Francophone should be an Anglophone. I'm not quite sure that there is any agreement or arrangement like that somewhere. However, as I said, whoever takes what the system we presently have now will force him to be what he could be. So long as you don't federalize, you don't decentralize the government, too much hyper-centralization triggers people to be greedy. And so nobody will want to have everything in their arms and want to let some go. That is the theory of the white man, not that of the black man. And so we need to be very, very serious. Examine our consciences and make a judgment, a conclusion for whoever wants to govern. This idea of Anglophone, Francophone, no. We should have a system where people can go for primaries and decide who they want to be the leader. We should have the two-system type of election where the first round, everybody goes and they select the best two, candidates will go in for the final round, where you can have alliances. That is governance. The rest of the thing you are saying, Anglophone, that I don't buy. I buy a good Cameroonian taking over Cameroon and do what is good for Cameroon.
Let's take interviews of the week right now, and we'll be back in some few minutes. Interviews of the week.
I watched the young men on television, and I think that their return should be likened to that of the prodigal son in the scriptures. Though worse than the prodigal son, it is important to note here that they acknowledged their mistakes, they realized they were on a wrong expedition, but it is regrettable that it was one expedition that went with a very high price, in the sense that there has been a lot of losses. Human lives have been lost, property has been destroyed, and of course it has changed the whole scenario of a national construction into national destruction, which has affected the country in various ways and inflicted a serious dent on the ship of state of our country. I think that first of all, we should applaud their return to the household. They have made them a very spectacular and useful turnabout, one that should be accepted, embraced, even before we start looking at the consequences of their actions. I want to thank God for them, that they came back at all. We should understand that it is a very difficult moment for the two regions of the Northwest and the Southwest regions. And so much has happened that will require time, and it will need a healing process to be put in place, one that is going to address the various components of this crisis, one that is going to restore a national character of love and forgiveness, one of reconciliation and peace, the pursuit of peace. I think that there is so much work that is still left to be done, but we should be grateful to God that we are having incidents like this, and that the public administration, like the senior divisional officer for Meme, who has put in so much in establishing this atmosphere that warrants the return of our young men to the communities, is so laudable and appreciated. We should be able to commend the efforts of the senior divisional officer for Meme, who has been at the forefront of this return to peace, which is accompanied by this surrender and this dropping of guns that we are seeing, especially from this last group of young men.
We shall be by you, okay? So remain courageous and make sure you execute the missions with a lot of professionalism, okay? With a lot of professionalism. We have a tradition of continuous training of our people. And it is within this framework that the Secretary of State for the National Gendarmerie decided that we should do some spatial recycling of our personnel, so that
they can develop some mechanisms with the context that we have today and the events that we have ahead of us, which all of us know, so that there must be some readiness and good organization with respect of the laws and regulations as part that guide the functioning of our institution. I am very satisfied. I have a sentiment that, we are progressing and that our men are up to the task. I will just say that they should continue in this sense. They should continue being ready. They should continue with their dynamism and the professionalism. I see them well prepared, and I hope that they continue with this awareness.
The content of the training was purposely to standardize, update, and equally upgrade our colleagues, our young ones, in relations to any eventual events that might arise this year, 2024, or next year, 2025, in preparation for the coming presidential elections. The mission was purposely peacemaking, though we had supplementary missions like medical assistance that you could give to any wounded person during the period of the peacemaking missions.
The complaint with constitution of civil party before the court of first instance of Yaoundé Administrative Center against 3 members of the Constitutional Council. On November 6, 2024, at my request, our lawyers filed a complaint with civil action before the Court of First Instance of the Administrative Center of Yaoundé against the President of the Constitutional Council and 2 other members of this institution. The Constitutional Council is governed by Law Number 2004/005 of April 21st, 2004, amended and supplemented by Law Number 2012/016 of December 21st, 2012. Article 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 of this law have been violated. For example, Article 5 provides, unquote, I quote, the members of the Constitutional Council must refrain from anything that could compromise their independence and dignity, the independence and dignity of their functions. Weeks after October 2024, several municipalities have still not seen their provisional electoral list posted, thus in violation of the legal deadline for posting the provisional electoral list.
I hear many people calling on Mr. Paul Biya to run again for president in 2025. But here is a piece of advice to the members of the CPDM party. If you want your party to continue to play an important role in the politics of Cameroon, either as a ruling party or as a strong opposition party, then you ought to organize your party congress right now and elect a new presidential candidate. Mr. Paul Biya is not competitive. And if you are counting on electoral fraud to have him re-elected, then you are grossly mistaken, because the people of Cameroon are not going to accept the defrauding of their popular sovereignty as has happened in the past years. Now, some people might even continue to say that if Mr. Paul Biya is not the presidential candidate, his son should become the presidential candidate. But we know from opinion polls that the strongest CPDM members who can run a competitive presidential candidate are either Anglophones or people from the north. I doubt that CPDM will take this good advice to organize a party congress and put forth a new presidential candidate who is an Anglophone or a Northerner. If that happens, then we can anticipate that the CPDM will collapse as a party. The future of Cameroon is going towards a strong competitive two-party system. We see that the party of Mr. Maurice Kamto, CRM-MRC, is going to play an important role there. It is now left for the CPDM to figure out whether it will implode and allow the party of Mr. Cabral Libi, the PCRN, to become the second strongest party, or they will actually try to make themselves competitive and go toe-to-toe with the party of Mr. Maurice Kamto. The choice is theirs, but Mr. Biya is not competitive as a presidential candidate.
It was alleged that up to about 125 potential voters are missing or omitted from the electoral list that was published in October 2025 due to missing biometric data, and this includes fingerprints. We are saying that this is absolutely unacceptable. The CCFGA affirms that it is ELECAM's responsibility to ensure that all voter registration equipment, including fingerprint equipment, function properly. We therefore call upon ELECAM's Director General of Elections, Mr. Eric Essos, to take all the necessary measures to reinstate the missing names. Cameroonians are preparing to go to the polls in 2025 in presidential elections. It is ELECAM's duty, therefore, to conduct all stages of elections in a manner that reflects the will of the people of Cameroon, to whom, under the Constitution of Cameroon, national sovereignty belongs. We call upon citizens to engage in monitoring actions of ELECAM to ensure elections integrity. As civil society organization, CCFGA is committed to working with ELECAM and urge other stakeholders to do the same for the sake of justice, peace and social cohesion of our country, Cameroon. Mr. Babila, many challenges facing Cameroon today come from failure to apply existing laws or failure of institutions to function as they were initially designed. CCFGA recently experienced how the administration routinely denies rights given to Cameroonians by failing to do their jobs. We are a civil society, CCFGA are a civil society organization fighting for federalism and good governance in our country. We've tried to declare our organization in accordance with the laws of our country, but the administration so far has chosen not to acknowledge our declaration. The CCFGA are considering taking legal actions on this issue, and our general advice to all institutions established to serve the people is, please follow the law and do your job diligently, and even God will reward you for that.
You're welcome back. Those were interviews of the week. Now, concerning the economic consequences of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, several companies have suffered a great deal of setbacks. And one of such companies badly affected by the crisis is the Cameroon Development Corporation, and in the last strike of its workers, the latter were demanding for 55 months of salary arrears. As an entrepreneur, give us an understanding of the economic consequences of the Anglophone crisis.
It has been the nightmare of entrepreneurs and government agencies like the CDC and so forth. 55 months without salary is a tough challenge even to the managers of CDC. I don't know the true context and I don't know everything that happened, but within the Anglo-Saxon tradition, strike is something which is very normal. It's a way of expressing your mind to your bosses, those who are governing you. And so what they have done now is part of that Anglo-Saxon tradition. Now, on the entrepreneur like us, as I told you, Mr. Babla, we're expecting something from the government, which I hope it will still come. We have suffered a lot. I lose my D7 bulldozer, I lose my D8 bulldozer, I lose my grader, I lose my head office, a lot of things, computers and everything, office supplies. But we are still there, hanging on, waiting for a greener light at the end of the tunnel. I just hope that that light will one day come on for Cameroonians, at least to sit down and have a sigh of relief that we did it together. Where we are now, we can leave the nation to our future children and we'll sleep in peace wherever we are.
Well, entrepreneurs are expecting something from government. Many Cameroonians who have become internally displaced persons today because of the conflict are also expecting something from the Yaoundé administration. The crisis has significantly increased the needy population in the English-speaking northwest and southwest regions, but also in other parts of the country where we have internally displaced persons, many of them living in difficult, poor, and even precarious conditions with little or no aid, even from government. As an individual, what are you doing about this?
Mr. Babila, I'll give you an example of what my own contribution is. For about 5 years today, every year when children are going back to school, I spend at least 3 million francs. I offer 50,000 francs to all the students from government secondary school who have an average of 14 in my jurisdiction, which is Muyuka. I offer books for children to take back to school. Books, bags, pencils, pen. Here I am in Boya. I choose one orphanage. I supply food there, and I help the children. I give the children the didactic materials to take back to school to enable, because I know that future leaders will come up from those that we are sponsoring in schools. And I bet you, Mr. Babla, that is an enormous task which I've been doing, and I've seen the result. It's wonderful. I've seen geniuses who are hidden somewhere, having a child, having 19/20, in a government secondary school, 18/20. But that child could not even afford to go to school, Mr. Babla. And so once I discover that type of a child, I make sure you continue in the government secondary school for 7 years. I give you 50,000 every year. That is a contribution, because we don't know who that child will become in the future. That is what we need to encourage. Not coming to sit over the radio and making publicity that you are helping. I mean, I started when I was a mayor, and I've been doing it after I'm no longer the mayor of Muyuka. But trust me, every year since I started, I have been giving those children books, didactic materials, take back to school, to each student that have an average of 14 and above.
Such assistance from persons of goodwill have, however, proven to be grossly insufficient, and we still have hundreds of internally displaced persons and even refugees who are in neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria, living in difficult, poor, and very deplorable conditions, and they are begging for aid from the Cameroon government and of course its partners. Now let's wrap up this edition of The Insight with the election in the United States of America, with the imminent return of Republican Donald Trump to the White House after his election victory, and with regards to what he has been saying so far after his victory, notably in his victory speech, with regards to the announced closure of the borders of the United States, immigrants in the situation of illegality, concerning what he has been saying about immigrants in situations of illegality. What should the hundreds of asylum seekers, especially Africans who are in the United States of America, expect from the Trump administration?
But what do they expect? Trump was very frank and fair. He told them he was going to deport immigrants back to their countries of origin. It takes me to the question of why should we have all what we have and we abandon it to go move to somebody's land? That is where the question is. Trump tapped onto the frustration of the population and got what he wanted. He did not really win the presidency. Congress is GOP. The Senate is GOP. If you see, he improved on his standings as far as election results are concerned. Remember, he won not only the number of he also won, he also won the popular vote. I think that it has been about 20 years where, since George Bush Jr., where a Republican has not won both the college and the population majority, but he won it. And so we should not sit here and be speculating. The guy Trump told you all what he's going to do, and that's what he will do. I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know when he's going to do it, but I know he is somebody, when he says something, he does it. Now, if you are there legally, it does not affect you. If you are there, and I don't know the definition of who is there legally or illegally, but I know that I am there legally. And so I concentrate on what I do in the U.S. to put bread and butter on the table of my family. The rest is being handled by population, by politicians, by security, by whoever is in need of what I need. So this election was a lesson to the Democrats, that the Democrats, nothing is left on the table that cannot be discussed, like this transgender issue, LGBTQ issue. Let Democrats have a frank discussion. There are certain things which should stay in the private room of private individuals. They shouldn't come to the public. When the public starts opening up, you don't know who might like it or who might not like it. It creates confusion. And so politicians like to tap into the frustrations of people to enable them win elections. Remember, somebody said politicians are Yahoo boys. But when they are campaigning, they tell you all the sweet things. But when it's time for governing, you call that phone does not go through again. You become frustrated. But that is politics.
That's it for today's edition of The Insight. Thank you so much for staying with us. We urge you to follow us on our social media handles on Facebook and YouTube. You can also follow the rebroadcast of the program on Friday at 5 p.m. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Do stay with us if you can. Goodbye.
Ghana's Lake Volta covers a dark secret: child slavery. Just months ago, these kids were slaves. Then volunteers from the Challenging Heights organisation rescued them. Now in a rehabilitation centre, the children reflect on what they've gone through.
I
didn't know that my mum had taken the money. She told me a lady wanted a boy to go and stay with her. Then they took me away to Yeji on the lake. 16-year-old Ko is only in 4th grade. He has a lot to catch up with. Getting kids back to school was exactly what James Kofi Annan had in mind when he founded Challenging Heights. He himself used to be a child slave on the lake.
The thing that I dreaded most, and every child I worked there always dreaded most, was diving to remove trap nets. And I was trapped so many times. I am just lucky that I survived.
James was 13 when he escaped from his fishermen slave masters. He worked hard to get through school and then university. He finally became a bank manager. And he started helping others by founding Challenging Heights.
All that we need from you is the willingness, the enthusiasm to want to work.
So that more women can have a better living and stay with their children instead of opting to sell them. At the moment, this school run by Challenging Heights has around 700 pupils. The school provides shelter for the children. Despite many of them residing in the school compound, those who opt to stay elsewhere are at constant risk of being trafficked.
We're doing door-to-door education, educating parents on the importance of education to their children. And James would always be on us. Are the children coming to school? You need to go to their homes and bring them.
These children are reading in the library instead of diving for trapped nets. Without James's effort, many of them would still be trapped in Lake Volta. But even then, the former child slave is frustrated. Despite his work, James watched Ghana's rating worsen on the Global Slavery Index.
It is just the failure or lack of actions on the part of government that is moving us to Tier 2.
When James sees fishing boats on the shore of Winneba, he knows exactly what to do: rescue the children and, at the same time, help mothers. He aims to help at least 1,000 women annually and to prevent around 2,000 children being sold into slavery.